transcription. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. So hi to the students who have come for the synchronous viewing of this presentation. Hopefully you'll have questions and you can ask those questions. This information session is about our partnership with TEAN at Fudan University. And we have our colleague from TEAN here to tell us a little bit about that program, what it looks like in a normal year. And if you have questions about what it, what the planning looks like for the, the upcoming semester, she'll be able to answer those as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Nancy Clark from TEAN.
Thank you, Jennifer. Hi, everyone. Welcome. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this program. And I know that we have a student, do I pronounce it Yena? Is that the way I pronounce the name? Who might be going next semester if it's running. So I'll try to talk to the two of you who are on this, who might be interested next year, and then Yena, who might be interested this spring. And a lot is still unknown, as you know, because of the pandemic. We're really eager and anxious for borders to open, I know, as you are. So the program is at Fudan University in Shanghai, China. And I'm going to tell you at least how it has run in the past. And then I'm not quite sure how it might change, but I'll give you a little bit of information as I know it or what I think might be happening. But anyway, this is just a photo of the Shanghai skyline. If you haven't been to China, it's actually fascinating. Shanghai is a really vibrant city. It's very modern, as you can see, yet it's very old. So it's just a really, really neat juxtaposition. Really amazing place to be a student, I think. Next slide, please. And feel free to unmute yourself or, ask a question. I want this hopefully to be helpful, and I don't want you to feel like you're being talked at. And I'm really appreciative just of your time. So I've just kept this really general for you today. Academics, Fudan is one of the top 3 institutions in the country. So usually you'll hear people talk about Fudan, Peking, and Tsinghua. Those are the top institutions. The photo on the top is actually one of the main academic buildings. Compared to Wellesley, it is massive. It is so big. But what's really neat about this campus is it's very green, it's very leafy. It's actually really beautiful. Before I went the first time, I thought, well, it couldn't be this pretty, but it is really stunningly beautiful. Academics that are available to you as a Wellesley College student are taught in English. That is unless you have a proficiency in Mandarin, which you might. If you have proficiency in Mandarin reading and writing, then you are able to take anything that's on offer. But for someone like myself, I don't have that. So most of the subject areas will be in various business subjects, humanities, which I know usually appeals to the Wellesley College students, things like political science, media, communications, literature. Usually you can't take any of the sciences unless you have a really advanced level of Mandarin under your belt. So I just want you to be aware of that in case you are pre-med or a pre-dental track or something like that. And then in this semester program, there's also a Chinese language component. That's taught, it's in our program, but it's actually taught by the University of Virginia faculty. I've actually sat in on a few of the classes. It's very hands-on, might not be the best description, but I really like the way that students really learn the language. We have beginner, intermediate, and advanced. You don't have to worry if you have no language or you're, quite advanced. What we do is once you get there, they just give you a bit of a conversational, it's not even a test, a quiz, but it's basically just in conversation, and that's where they place you. So don't worry if you don't have any Chinese language already, but if you do, you should be able to move into one of the upper levels. And then in addition, again, this is pre-COVID, assuming that all opens and things are the way they used to be. We have an optional part-time internship as part of this program, and it's usually about 10 hours a week. I'll go into that a little bit more in detail. That's an optional extra, if you will. It's not part of the actual academics, but I just always mention that because a lot of students like like that mix. What I should say about this program is this is a really great program for somebody who wants a general experience. If you really want language intensive, Jennifer can help you with some other options that you have at Wellesley. This is not what I'd call your language intensive program. This is what I consider a generalist type of program. You get some academics, you get some language, you get to live there, you get to experience it, but you're not going to be, you won't come out fluent after this one semester. Thank you. Our accommodation is in a housing complex, if you will, a sort of, there are a lot of gated sort of complex communities. And that's typically where we have housed our students. Again, post-COVID, things could change, but it's a really nice, modern, relatively new complex. The last one I saw was probably 5 years ago, and it was only 2-3 years old. So it has a guard, it has a gate. Historically, there've been 2 to 3 bedroom apartments that normally house between 4 and 6 students. That can vary. Sometimes we have a 3-bedroom apartment that has 5 students. Somebody might have a single for various reasons. They all vary. If you have a housing requirement, a housing request, let us know. We normally house at least 1 Chinese student in each apartment, and that's really so that you are all able to integrate easier, faster. We in the past have asked there to be 2 days a week that are Mandarin only in the apartments, no English being spoken. And so what we call that Chinese buddy who lives with you, usually those are advanced students who are quite exceptional in terms of academic excellence. They're involved in the campus. They're just really great role models, but they want to learn from you as much as we hope you learn from them. We are able usually to house students on campus as well, and that would be in an international dorm that would have a meal plan. Most times students don't want that, but sometimes there is a student who wants that. So if there is an exception or a certain need, reach out to us and ask us. I don't know what the housing will be like going forward, but that's, again, my best guess or best estimate of what we've had in the past. So a typical apartment has a kitchen, living area, 1, 2, could have 3 bathrooms, depending, full Western bathrooms. So with a shower, that type of thing. We think that's really important, although we want you to understand the culture there in China, but we want you to have the modern conveniences. Thanks, Jennifer. We host a 5-day orientation. It's based in Shanghai. So years ago, I want to say maybe 5-6 years ago, we used to actually have our orientation based in Beijing, and then we'd move students down to their housing in Shanghai and get them settled in. And then we realized that students actually did better and they learned a lot more if we had the orientation in your host city. So you can see some of the activities listed. It's quite full with cultural activities and sightseeing and, Chinese cooking class, for example, dumpling making. There's a lot going on. And at the same time, we have sessions on things like health and safety, the academic differences, the support that might be in your community, the support that's on your campus, keeping in touch with, your campus at home and things like that. And then what we've done is, and again, this is all, 2 years ago, hopefully, I think we'll continue this. We include at least 1 multi-day excursion, and historically that's been to Beijing. It's really, if you haven't been to China, to see the Forbidden City and the Summer Palace and some of those amazing properties, and just learn a little bit more about that. And but we've also done Inner Mongolia and some other options, so maybe Xi'an. So we include that because we think that mid-semester it's really an excellent way to go explore something else, get out of Shanghai. Some of you may travel on your own, some of you may not, but to give you an experience to see something else. And that way, as we say, you're based in Shanghai initially, so you get off the plane, you get over your jet lag, and then you can go mid-semester with us to one of those other places. And we'll know a little bit more as things progress. The photo on the top is actually one of the main old gates at Fudan University. So there's quite a lot of old and new mixed in, and I think that's really nice. And you can kind of see a little bit of the green, a little bit of the green behind it. And then this photo on the bottom right is the Pearl Tower, which we always take students up there in Shanghai, and it's pretty exhilarating. It's really high up, but it's pretty fun. Next slide, please. I just have a little bit of information on the internship. Again, hopefully this is going to stay constant going forward. So if an internship is of interest to you during the semester, it makes your semester pretty busy because you have your coursework, you have your Chinese language class, and then you add on top of that an internship. But the internship is just, and I know that you don't get credit for internships at Wellesley, but they're also not transcripted by us. So even if you were trying to do something else for extra credit, we don't transcript the part-time internships. But we've had placements in NGOs, we've had placements in international law firms. Albright Law Firm, you may have heard of that. We've placed a number of students over the years there. They typically want help with English translation and English speaking, but usually you can gain some Mandarin skills there as well. We've had students in television, all different types of placements. It does, there's no requirement up front, but once we place you, once you get there, then there is that requirement to follow through. So we'll talk to you more about that once you apply, if you do apply and you want more information. What's sometimes tricky is that students think they want it and then realize, ooh, it's Tuesday and Friday and I'm really full on with classes and maybe this is a little bit more than I want. Other times students say it's the highlight of their semester abroad. So I just wanted you to know that it is an option there. And then I mentioned just briefly, we have an 8-week full-time internship in the summer. And we have had some students from Wellesley, sometimes a Ted Wang fellow, but sometimes other students who might be interested in that. And we can always give you more information on that as well. We're hoping that those are gonna go forward. Who knows, but I think there might be one more slide. Okay, so I just put Medusa here. Jennifer's talked to Medusa and I don't think you've met Medusa in person, but enough virtually. Medusa's our resident director. She's just amazing. And she has worked with students for a really long time. She used to work at Fudan, and now she works for us full time. And she's just really lovely. She will answer all sorts of questions. She's a great resource. And we really are proud of the fact that she bridges the Chinese culture with our culture. And she really does try to understand and help students. She takes a lot of extra time. So we usually have a few other staff people, sometimes on a semester basis, sometimes they are with us for a few years at a time. Right now, because we haven't had any students, we don't have anyone else to introduce you to. But I just wanted you to know that that's really the main person. So she's my go-to person with any questions regarding Fudan. And I think, yeah. So I just want to open up to questions, but this is these are some of our students, and the male student in the red t-shirt actually stayed on to get a master's degree, and so he was one of our paid students or paid workers who helped Medusa for a couple of years. So that was a really nice thing. But this was in one of the apartments. This was one of the feasts, and it just shows the students. So I wanted to keep it brief so we could open it up to questions. We are definitely, hoping that the borders open. I will say, and I think Yenna knows this, that for next semester and for this summer, we're really encouraging students to have a backup because we're not convinced that it's going to operate. We're pretty certain our program in Korea will operate. That's one that Jennifer and Wellesley is, allowing students to go to. But for right now, we're hoping that this program is running in entirety next year. So that's a really brief introduction, but if I can help with any information, or I can always, get more information back to you if that helps.
Thanks, Nancy. Maybe since there are just a few of us here, if Andrea and Laura are still on the call, maybe we could hear what you're thinking you might major in or interested in studying.
Hi, thank you very much for your presentation. I was maybe thinking in double majoring in maths and econ, and I was actually wondering if maths could be an option here, because from what I saw on the list of study abroad, I don't think it was. So this is the only thing that's holding me back from going there at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. I would say math will be, unless you have Mandarin, math itself will be pretty tricky. There are many econ and econ related subjects that you could take, but if you need, advanced math and you aren't fluent and able to read and write in Mandarin, you probably aren't going to be able to get it there during the semester. Would you agree with that, Jennifer?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're able to, Laura, you think you have next spring-ish?
Yeah, I'm thinking next spring, which maybe lets me time to take the required maths course for the major before going there. I have to check all of that though.
Yeah, that's great thinking. So that's what I was going to suggest is if let's just say you need 2 math subjects, each semester, if this seems like a viable option for you and something you're interested in, I know Jennifer would help you, but you may want to try to get 1 math before you go, and then another math after, or potentially double up this spring and next fall, and that would allow you that flexibility for the spring.
And if students still have any distributions, if you've got a major that's a little tricky to accommodate in the study abroad program, you can usually do one or another of your distributions in the art, literature, history, social sciences.
Right. And I can see from Andrea, I'm not sure how you pronounce your name, is an IR poli-sci major, looking at courses and wondering about the transferability of credits since IR has so many requirements and wouldn't want to miss out on a semester. So I will let Jennifer answer that. I know there's a lot of subjects available at Fudan in this realm, international relations, a lot of poli-sci, a lot of those types of major related, but in terms of transferring back to Wellesley, Jennifer, I guess I'd have to have you.
Sure. So, that is a conversation you would have to have with the director of the IR poli-sci program, but I do know that the IR major strongly encourages students to study abroad and also to have advanced language. So I think that as long as you start planning, on the early side, that should definitely a semester would be feasible, if not a year.
You're welcome.
I also have a question. So I know since the border issue is not settled yet, but I just have a question about when will the decision for the spring and summer be made? I know it will probably be canceled, but when will the official decision be made for the next program?
Good question. I think what I read recently, and I think I might have sent that to Jennifer, is my understanding it was going to be sometime this month. Let me just see if did I tell you that, Jennifer? Did I give you that?
If you did, I was distracted.
No, I may not have. Don't worry. I think this for this fall, I'm just looking through all my notes from before. I thought that they were talking about sometime this month, because obviously you have to plan, right? That's only fair. And students, students have to be able to have a backup if they want. I think we don't know yet for the summer. My guess is that wouldn't be until quite a bit later. We're also optimistic that sooner or later all the borders will open up and this will become a possibility. I do think you've probably been chatting with Trisha, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So she's definitely your person to, you could ask her every day, have you heard, when are you going to find out? And I'm not trying to like have you bug her, but don't ever feel that you can't be in touch with us very, very often. You're not a bother ever, and that's our job. My guess is it's probably not going to run this spring. It's going to be pretty tough to get students in there, anybody in there for that matter. But I would assume, I'm just looking at the calendar. I think they have to make a decision pretty soon. But as we all know, in the last year and a half, we've tried to stretch these to the last minute in case there are some, miracles that could happen. So I know that they want you to have a backup, whatever your backup is, if you're willing to have a backup, and it doesn't have to be with us, it could be with somebody else. But we want you to find the fit that's right for you, that will, have an open border. But I would think you won't know about the summer until at least February. It could be even March.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. I wish I could be. I know. I wish we could be. We never had to talk about this, right? Before 2 years ago, and now it seems like it's just part of our vocabulary. Well, maybe. Oh, if. I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you
yeah.
so much.
Yeah, I feel badly for all of you students caught in the middle, and we, Jennifer and I and everyone who's around, who does this kind of work, supporting you. Really, we want it to work for you. We feel it's such an integral part of your undergraduate education, and I apologize that you're caught in this and this sort of waiting game. But hopefully there will be an option for you that will work for your major, if for this spring. I think for the two who are looking at next year, I'm feeling a lot more optimistic about that. We are seeing, other places that are talking about opening, even places like Australia and New Zealand that had initially said there'll be absolutely no mobility this coming spring. Well, there will be some mobility. It won't be a lot, but there'll be some mobility. So as we get more vaccinations and as we figure, we're figuring this out, but we have to work within borders. So unfortunately, I think with China and where this virus originated, it's just causing a little bit more havoc. And so I'm thinking that they'll end up having to cancel this spring, sadly.
Okay. Well, if there aren't other questions, then we'll stop the recording and just send it around afterwards to those students who signed up, and we'll post it on the website so you all can refer back to the beautiful pictures of the apartments.
Yeah, we have a lot more pictures on the website. We can help you with a lot more information. I should probably put in here, well, I guess you can ask Jennifer. I was going to put Trisha's email, but you can always just get in touch with us. I will say that where the housing is, it feels a lot like Cambridge, to be honest. It's a really vibrant young people's area. It has cafes. It has, shops. It's, as I say, it's really leafy. It's very outdoorsy. People ride bicycles. People play basketball. For such a big city, it feels like this small microcosm. So if you sort of envision the way Cambridge is to Boston, although Shanghai is obviously a lot bigger than Boston, but it just is a lovely sort of community, but easy access, easy transport to sort of everything you would need. And then, as I said, once we know more, we'll keep updating the website, or feel free to call us, email us anytime. If you go on our website, there's a live chat and you can always ask questions that way if you prefer. But the more we know about, whether programs are running and how they might change, or what pivots we make so that we can accommodate students, we'll try to keep you posted.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Oops, there's another